One of the reasons that there is an increasing demand for solar energy is that it is no longer this very expensive technology. So it's a reality that there's a demand for workers that can install solar panels.
Absolutely. I think what first inspired me was meeting a young character named Eddie, who's featured in my film. And here's a young man who didn't have even entry-level work opportunities. And I saw the light go on in his eyes when he made a radio play off of solar energy. And I saw him beam with pride as he explained to his neighbor how much money he'd be saving as a result of the work that he had done. And I could see firsthand the kind of transformation that's possible. And I learned this well-kept secret that even today, there are 200,000 workers in the solar industry. In the making of my film, the industry has almost doubled size.
Right, and that's just in the United
And that's
States,
just here in
where the industry is far smaller than it is in other countries, including Germany and China.
Absolutely, and that's because we haven't had consistent long-term policy. And here, already in so many states across the country, solar energy is reaching grid parity with dirty fossil fuel industry, which means that—
In other words, it costs the same amount to produce.
Exactly. Yeah. It costs the same amount or cheaper. And it all depends how you do the math. If we factored in the kind of pollution that the fossil fuel industry puts into the lungs of our kids and the amounts of asthma and cancer and birth defects that are caused by the legacy of fossil fuels, that math would be even greater, and the push for the math and the economics behind solar energy would be even greater. But even without that, solar energy is reaching grid parity. It's already reached grid parity in 80 countries across the world. And you're seeing countries that never had a grid system in the first place leapfrog the grid and go directly to solar energy. And the cost benefits are immense because we have to remember that this is a device that is renewable. The sun is free and shines all over the world. And as we begin to harness that, it has almost zero marginal cost, which means there's almost no cost in upkeeping this technology. So, leaving this massive existential crisis that we need to solve called climate change, renewable energy is about national competitiveness in the industries of the future, and is largely makes good economic sense all over the world.
Let's unpack some of what you said, because you referred, for example, to the public health impacts of the fossil fuel industry. And it seems like you make the case, not just an economic case in this film, but you make a case for income inequality and how the fossil fuel industry has fueled that. And there is a social justice aspect to that as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and it's something I wish were more widely discussed, which is, the electrification of the United States was thought to be the biggest engineering achievement of the 20th century. And essentially, we created these monopolies, and government created these entrenched interests. So in essence, because of the amount of infrastructure it takes to actually, dig dead things out of the ground, to burn them, to spin steam turbines, to ship it more than 100 miles from where you produce energy, is largely inefficient and creates and requires a great deal of infrastructure. And so that essentially has created a 1% in this country. The fossil fuel industry has consolidated wealth and power in the hands of a few. And I think the big, sexy, provocative idea about solar energy, which I wish more people would understand, is that solar energy has the capacity to democratize and decentralize energy in a way that puts power, both literally and figuratively, in the hands of ordinary people. And if you pass the right policy, like in California, where they have net metering, which essentially means that instead of you paying the utility actually pays you when you put solar on your rooftop at really competitive rates. And that's why technologies like solar are disrupting the fossil fuel industry and putting more money into the hands of the middle class.